Hello, everyone. It is so good to see you this Monday evening. Hey, Teresa, good to see you. I am um, not quite in my PJs, but in my comfy pants, and I hope you are in your comfy pants by this time of night as well. And I figured we could hang out, have a glass of wine together, and just kind of chat a little bit more. And I always get questions about finishing a painting, so I thought we could go over that a little bit today. Hey, Amy. Hey, Becca. Hey, Laura. Hey, Lynn and Rosanna and Sharon. It's 1 a.m. in the UK. Oh my goodness, Tracy. There is this, you can catch this replay if it's super late. So I understand if you want to catch the replay on this one, especially at 1 a.m. We are, like I said, I'm just hanging out. I figured I would paint a little bit and we could talk about painting. Any questions that you have, drop them in the comments. I've really enjoyed this week with y'all, and I see so many of our new members on here. I see Alice and I see Bridget and Susan. Hey, thank you so much. Susan is one of our members that's in the Fort Myers area, and they've had a lot of damage and they're finally getting their Wi-Fi back. So I'm so happy to hear that, Susan. And thank you all so much for all of the birthday wishes. I didn't realize Rosemary was going to quite set me up like that, but I appreciate all of the birthday love. It's been great to hear from you. I had such an incredible birthday because I got to drag my husband around galleries in New Orleans all day, and he had to go with me because it was my birthday. So I got to go look at some amazing art and hang out and eat amazing food. So it was a fabulous weekend, and really enjoyed it. And if anybody follows Tulane football, which usually there would be no reason to, we're actually ranked in the top 25 this year. So that's been crazy exciting. So it's been a good weekend, and it's good to see you all back here on Monday. And I see Jennifer from the Texas Gulf Coast and Jennifer from Maryland. I know, Rosemary's so sneaky. Susie is from Mobile. It is so good to see everyone. And so thank you all again for participating over the last week. Like I said, we raised over $5,000. I'm going to be able to sit down this week and calculate exactly how much it is. And we're going to let everyone know, but it's been at least $5,000. And so I'm very excited to be able to pass along that joy and love and, spread that and help our neighbors in need. I did want to give a big shout out of everyone that has joined the Creative Circle since we last chatted on Thursday. That's been Lori and Paulette and Vera, Susan, Kambush. I'm not sure what your first name is. We would love to have your first name. I have Lauren, Deborah, Pam, Karen, Deanna, Victoria, Julia, Kathy, Tracy, Christine, Judy, Gilda, Anais, Patty, Elizabeth, Gina, Sienna, Janet, Stephanie, Catherine, Kiki, Joelle, Missy, Connie, Ginger, Kelly, Nicole, Lori, Jen, Carolyn, Karen, Michelle, Vera, Jennifer, Joan, Elise, Sarah, and we have another Shelby. I never get to meet Shelby, so that's kind of exciting. And Sharon. So we are so excited to have you all join us. It is just incredible. And I know that our incredible members are already digging in and painting. And we've been letting you've been a part of the Facebook group as we've been getting going. And so I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing on your journey. So if anyone has any questions, I figured what I would do is I'm just going to probably drive you guys a little bit nuts, because I figured I would just kind of paint and have a little bit of fun. And then I was just going to paint sort of like a practice demo, just like a really short quick study. And then I was going to kind of talk about how different ways that you can finish the edges, how you can sign your paintings. We talk about a lot of stuff like this in the Creative Circle, and we have these great discussions because there is no one solution to anything about art. So I always learn, and I always learn from you all, and I learn from teaching. I learn from you all. I learn so much from just this experience that I really appreciate it anytime we get to do it. Now, and I see everyone. I see everyone in the chat that is hooking up with finding friends in the chat, and that is amazing. We have so many Creative Circle people that have connected and find neighbors and friends, and that's one of my favorite parts, is the community and the connections. So I have a bent palette knife. I'm going to be using, I am looking forward to, Wendy is going to be signing up this evening. Perfect. I'm so glad you got it worked out. That's amazing. And if you guys are in the Creative Circle, I would love it if you would say you're in, because I see so many of our members in here. I see Christina. She's up in South Carolina. And I see Donna Barrett, and I see so many familiar faces. That just makes me so happy. So today, I'm going to be using some different colors. And don't let that intimidate you. I'm just going to kind of paint and give a demo. Y'all don't need to feel like you have to follow along. These are some different colors that I like to use occasionally. And when I teach kind of a specific set of colors so that when you're learning, it's easy to learn. And then as you start forming your own style, you're going to find other colors that you like. You're going to find things you want to add or take away. Maybe you never use red, so you don't even have it in your palette, and that's your style. That's cool. Thinking of one of our members, Elise Christian. She had a beautiful palette that was she never used red. It was like sap green and Prussian blue and I forget what else, but it was a very distinct palette, and it was really, really interesting. Oh, Jean, good to see you. Hey, Carolyn. Hey, Peggy. Yes. And I can't wait for... Oh, I see you, Kate. Good to see you. We are going to see so many of our Creative Circle members. We are doing a live in-person retreat in just a couple of weeks. And I am so excited to connect with so many of our members that I have known your screen names, and I have not known you as a person. And that is going to be so exciting for me, is to meet you in person. So one of the colors that I am using is kind of one of my favorite colors, but I never recommend it when I'm teaching because it's very expensive. So I don't want, it's one of those colors that once you are much more sure in your work, then I recommend it. Because number one, during the pandemic, the pigment just became unavailable, so you couldn't even get it. Golden discontinued the color, but they now have it back. You can get it sometimes. I can't pronounce it. It's anthraquinone blue. Liquitex has it. Golden has it. It's a very, very expensive color, but it's it's a really, really pretty dark. It's darker than ultramarine, but it's a very purpley blue. And I just have fun with it. It's a fun one. It makes great navy blues, I think is why I like it. This is another fun color that I enjoy. This is where you talk about, I can make this color, I can mix this color. When I get kind of rolling, it's easier to have something pretty close out of the tube, and then I don't have to mix it all the time. It's a light ultramarine blue, and it is a little bit more saturated than what you can get. It's a little bit more saturated than what you can get mixing white and ultramarine, just because they mix it, and so they can put more pigment in to get to the same value. And then I'm missing a color. I can't think of what color it is. I'll figure it out. So I would love if everyone here, I know I'm so excited to see you guys at the retreat. I would love it if you guys would post right now in the comments. I want to know what your favorite color is. So I'm kind of just dreaming this up. I'm going to do a little bit of a landscape and keep it very, very simple. Oh, I know what color. It's right here. I use it a lot. Whenever I need to neutralize things, or make it lighter but not necessarily brighter, I just use the golden gray. It's an easy go-to. It's called like neutral gray, and this is the lightest one. I think it's N8. I use that, a decent amount, enough to have it in a squeezy tube. But it just helps kind of, when you're using some of these brighter colors straight out of the tube, they can be too saturated. And so I'll just add a tiny little bit of gray, and it knocks it down just a bit. And so I enjoy it. It makes it easier. And I have, apparently, we'll see, I'm drinking my wine out of a coffee mug. I had thousands, literally like one of the 1,000 packs of the wine cups, because I use them for resining. And I can't find them, or we're finally, several years later, we're finally out of them. So that's on our list for the retreat, is cups for the wine. Agnes, these are going to be totally different colors that we don't typically recommend. So I do have Van Dyke Brown, and I have white. I have neutral gray is the golden. They do like different values of neutral gray, and I love it. It makes an easy go-to gray, so you don't have to mix it if you don't want to. I like sap green. This is anthraquinone blue, light ultramarine. This is like a cerulean blue, and then Australian sienna is one of my guilty pleasures. It's this beautiful orangey yellow. It's very, very transparent. So if you find yellows to be transparent, I don't recommend this one. But when you combine it with white, it's like this rich, buttery, it's kind of close to a very rich Naples yellow. And Matisse is an Australian paint company. And you used to be able to get their paint at Jerry's. Now I think Blick is carrying it. But you can still get it. There's also a, what do you call it? There's a supplier called like Italian Paint Store or something that carries it. I'd have to look them up. I'm not sure who it is. But I'm just kind of out of my imagination as much as anything, doing a little bit of a landscape, because it's not, the landscape itself doesn't really matter. It's more, I'm just going to kind of show you what it looks like to be able to kind of finish the edges and do some different things. See, this is what happens when I just add a little bit of the gray. It just makes it, it's not as bright as the white, and it just makes it a little bit more gray. So it's kind of a nice, it's just a nice tool to have in your pocket. I do always, and I will continue to recommend, the basics until you're really, really comfortable with how colors mix and why they mix. Because that's how you learn. And then, like, it's really fun to then knock back to like 3 colors and figure out like, oh, I can make all these colors from just 3 or 4 colors. It helps with the color theory and not getting too lost or feeling like it helps you learn the concepts. Let's see. Yeah, Wendy, I've heard of Nova Colors. I've never actually, they've actually contacted me to test their stuff, and I haven't. There's a couple key colors that I use that they didn't have, but I'm interested to try their colors. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm always willing to try a new art supply. And these brushes are, I am cherishing these brushes because they have been discontinued, and I'm trying to find another good small brush that's not that you can buy anymore, and you just can't buy these anymore. They've been discontinued. These were American Crafter. They were recommended to me by Karen Jurek, who is an incredible teacher and artist. I just admired her. She was, I try to be like her when I grew up, and that she's she was always so giving and just this incredible open book. And I really appreciated that it's kind of, I drew a bit of my teaching style from her, and like, it feels good to give. I'm just going to kind of put a cloud in here. And I will say that when I do landscapes, I often look at reference photos, but I do kind of get to a point where I have, I don't have to always look at reference photos. I can improvise, and you start to know a subject matter where you can start kind of just having fun with it, and it doesn't have to necessarily be real. And that's where you can start playing with your imagination, and start really forming your own style. And I've painted enough palm trees. I can now kind of, I don't necessarily have to look at a reference photo because I kind of know how they go. You kind of just get a feeling for how shapes form and how color acts around things. But that comes with time. That comes with practice. It certainly doesn't happen overnight. Yeah, I think that's the other reason why I haven't gotten into Nova is they're more like fluid. They're softer body, and I prefer the heavy body ones. But I'm always open to try. So Cheap Joe's is owned by Jerry's, And U-Track was bought by Dick Blick. So there's really only a couple stores in this space. Give Rosemary a couple minutes. She'll get some links up for the colors. It'll take a couple minutes because these aren't ones that we normally use. So maybe we'll send out an email or post it in the group. The sap green, Van Dyke, titanium, and then this is Matisse, Charvin, golden. So as an aside, you can mix all of these colors pretty close, at least, from the 4 colors. There are some quirks just because they're different pigments that you won't quite get, but you can definitely mix very close approximations of them from your colors. And then just kind of add a little bit of blue. Like cerulean is a phthalo blue, basically. And white. It's like the old pigment that would be used. Rosemary does have 8 arms and 40 fingers, and y'all know we could not be doing this without her. And I appreciate y'all in that, this entire week is a lot of fun. And believe it or not, it's like we don't have a giant staff. We don't have a giant back office. It's just the 2 of us. And we do have some like part-time outside help, but it's really just the 2 of us. And so we are constantly having to teach ourselves the tech and learn new things. And so, like when you call, it's really us on the phone. We don't have any of that hired out. And so I appreciate y'all understanding that. Yeah, no, I'm going to put Rosemary on the spot because she put me on the spot over the weekend. It's fair game. I would say if you don't like your clouds, I would say study clouds. Look a lot at clouds. I used to not like my clouds, and then I started like really, really observing them and looking at the edges and the colors, and then just practice. Like nothing. Clouds are challenging. They have a lot of hard lines. They have a lot of soft lines. They're not, plus there's perspective and atmospheric perspective, and there's all kinds of stuff that gets involved with clouds. Do higher quality paints, let's see, Do higher quality paints mix quicker? Yes. Short answer, yes. Um, yeah, you have to use a lot less paint, and I don't know. Whenever I go back to using cheap paints, when we lived in Brazil for about 2 years, and I switched from oils to acrylics because the way they only had like full turpentine, or everyone would actually wash their brushes with kerosene. So that headache was not something I was interested in. I tried it a few times. It was awful. I really didn't enjoy it. And so I very quickly switched to acrylics, and I discovered acrylics and the joy of them. But because we were in Brazil, they just don't have as many resources available. The quality, you couldn't get golden paints. What they had was essentially craft paint. And so there was a million colors of it, which was fun. But you're not sure what the pigments are. You're not sure how things are going to mix together. I would quite often kind of get mud because you'd mix colors and they'd do something kind of weird and unexpected, and it wouldn't be quite what you wanted. So I have found that I'll beat this drum as long as I teach, is if you're gonna spend your money in any part of trying to paint, I recommend trying to spend it on the paint. Like fancy easels are fun. All expensive brushes are okay. All this studio furniture that they convince you that you need, like we all need a professional California closet studio. Like, we can get by with surprisingly little if we have some decent paints and okay brushes. Because I practice a lot on paper. Essentially, we don't have to have. And I did learn that in Brazil. I even learned how to deal with like paint that wasn't the most amazing, but I've constantly felt like I was fighting the paint. I felt like I was kind of doing battle every time I'd go to mix it. And so my goal for you, as I'm teaching you especially, is to, make the learning process the easy part, learning the fundamentals so that you're not battling your supplies, and also make it simple so that you can work with really decent supplies without spending. If you want to spend your children's inheritance, that's great. That is your prerogative. But without feeling like you have to spend all your money on crazy stuff. I want to make sure you can get the fundamentals as easily as possible. So look at this. I'm going to show you, speaking of expensive supplies, I'm going to show you two of my favorite colors and the reason why they're my favorite colors. This blue is just this really, really beautiful. It goes so dark. It's there's more of a violet undertone than ultramarine. And it makes this really, really beautiful blue. So it's just a color that I gravitate to, so I buy it. This color does not have to be on your palette. Ultramarine is a great color. It's like one of the least expensive ones. I use it a lot. This is just like one of my favorites. And then Australian Sienna, it just happens to be a yellow that I gravitate to. I like the warmer yellows. I like the orangey yellows. It makes a great sunflower color. It's just a very golden yellow. And by itself, it's very, very transparent, but it's a fun color to try. So it's one that I often have in my palette. That's not the color I was trying to mix, so I'm going to start over, but Lori, that is anthraquinone blue. This is the it's called PB60 is the pigment. So I am learning more about pigments and trying to work with fewer pigments because then you have pure colors. When you, like some of the colors that you'll see, especially in the craft section, like you'll see did I bring them? Like Blick has these paints that are like $2 and $3. They're like light violet blue, and you have no idea what the pigment is. So yeah, okay, you're spending just a couple dollars on the tube, but you don't know what you're getting. And so if you add a certain blue to it, or if you add a certain green, it might not do things like super unexpected and be really frustrating. So it's just kind of the downside of cheap paint is you most of the time you don't even know what's in the tube. And like Bahama Blue, I don't know what that means. What I think Bahama Blue should be does not necessarily mean that's what you think. So, it's fine. And typically if you're like cerulean, the standard names like ultramarine, phthalo, cerulean, that kind of thing, they pull from the same pigments. So if you go across brands, they'll be fairly consistent. Each brand kind of has its quirks, but you'll at least be within the ballpark. I know that just use the Australian sienna. Just use it. Don't hoard it. I have hoarded. Oh my goodness. I have hoarded what in my family what we hoard is spices. Like we would find great spices in I don't know, like when we lived overseas, we'd find great spices in like Vietnam or Brazil, and we'd never use them because they were so special and you couldn't get them anywhere else. And then it's like, if you had to move, then you had to get rid of them. And it's like, well, it's maybe we should use these special things. And then when we're done, get more of them. Okay. So I'm just going to do... Oh my goodness, it has been a minute since we did the Art After Dark nights. I know. That was a lot of fun. And it's kind of nice to just be able to kind of like show up and paint a little bit. That's a little too golden. And then I'm going to do a little bit of this. Just a little bit. That's probably too much. That's all right. That's fine. This is just purely for a demo. So Lauren, when you, I know that Dick Blick has glass palettes that you can order online. 16 by 20. And they're great. I recommend that. Also, maybe not Michael's or Hobby Lobby because they're kind of more for like the casual art person. But if you're ready to go the next step down the rabbit hole, Dick Blick definitely has glass palettes. I love the 16 by 20 size because I like more real estate. It's a bad habit of mine. Just gonna break up some of these shapes. Some of them are a little awkward. Alternatively, this one, you can just get it like this is basically a glass tabletop. So you can go to a glass company and get tempered glass as a tabletop and just use it that way. This is where I start futzing and I should just stop. We don't need all this detail. I would say I have had some people, like pull it out of, they've pulled it out of a frame or something like that, and I wouldn't really recommend that. That makes me nervous because that glass is not tempered, and it's usually pretty thin, and so I just would caution you that it might break easily. Like I know any frame glass I've ever had breaks super, super easy, and the scraper is just from the hardware store. It's like $3 or $4. They're called tile or glass scrapers. So what I generally do to finish a painting, I'm working so much smaller than I typically do, so all my brushes feel really big. It's kind of fun. I used to work the small, y'all. I used to paint basically like 6 by 6 and 8 by 10. So you can go as small as you want and you can go as big as you want. So I often get the question, what do you do with your edges? And I will tell you that answer really depends on you as an artist. I would say that whatever you do, make it look intentional. So I personally, with the way my art looks and the way it's displayed when I sell it, I like a crisp white edge. So like what I do is I go in and I clean up these edges right here. And I just make sure it's very clearly supposed to be white and you don't have overhang. Now, one option is you can continue the image down the side. So like you would kind of continue this. I personally, that's when I first started, that was kind of like the accepted way to do it. I think it's kind of, personally, I think it's kind of dumb to continue the image around the edge because I didn't crop the image over here, and I don't, that's not what I want you looking at. And I'm not going to put as much detail into the edge as I do in the rest of the painting. Like, cause it never gets painted at the exact same time as the rest of the painting. It just doesn't. So you're like trying to match colors. You're trying to get it right. It's just not totally there. I've seen it this way a lot. I've done it. It's not my choice. But that's, it's our art. We can do what we want. You can throw a couple clouds in there. Make it look deliberate. I'm just going to finish this. Yes, I'm going to tell you about the gold in just a second. I was in New Orleans this weekend, and when I was in New Orleans, I did a lot of gallery hopping. And so I was looking at kind of what other artists were doing just because I was curious. Because these things also seem to see how this kind of just continues. And it's sort of the same image, but it's not as much detail. That's an easy way to do it. But personally, I ended the picture here. I cropped it here for a reason, and so I want to focus on that reason. I didn't continue it around the edge. That's all right. That's different strokes, different folks. A lot of people will paint the edge black, which is just like a straight black. I just recommend finding a decent black and going at it. Or the other thing that I have seen and I do like is just a coordinating color. So maybe picking out one of these blues and having that wrap around the edge. I think that's a great choice. It's deliberate. Yeah, and at the bottom edge, nobody ever looks at. It feels like a waste of labor and effort and creative energy, and I don't know. That's my thing. I have seen there are some phenomenal painters in New Orleans, and what they're doing now is they're not continuing the painting on the edge, but if you look at the edge, it's almost its own work of art. They have like these coordinating designs on the edge. Very cool. But these are people that are selling $20,000 paintings, and like clearly doing the edges on these 5 foot by 5 foot paintings is a lot of extra work. So if you want to do that, great. That's up to you. So let's see, where's a brush that I can trash? Wait, no, I've got... Okay, this brush is kind of on its last legs, so we'll use this one. So what I use for gold, you can actually gold leaf the edge if you want, with gold leaf and size and all of that. That's a great way to leaf the sides. Or there's a couple, I don't have them here with me, but there are a couple good golds. Golden has a good gold. They're decent gold paint. Or what we like to use is liquid leaf. It's the catch is that this is a oil-based product, so it can't be cleaned with water. Thank you. It can't be cleaned. Ooh, and it smells. So it can only be cleaned with solvent. But it is a beautiful, really, really shiny gold. And typically, when we paint the edges, we do freehand it. We don't really, we just make sure to kind of clean up on the, if we have some overpaint, you just clean it up and wipe it off. I just try to be conscientious as I'm going. But this is a really, really beautiful gold, and it looks very close to gold leaf, and so it's a great gold paint. I don't use this in painting. Number one, it does have fumes, so it is, it smells like a, yeah, it smells like those markers, those like oil-based markers. So if you work with it for too long, make sure you're in a ventilated area. And so Agnes, I don't frame my work because I mostly work with these 1.5 deep canvases or panels. And I do tend to work on a lot of wood just because I like the way it feels, and we gesso it. But this is one of the paintings that has the gold edge. And so it's just a pretty look. Another thing I've seen, and what we initially did is we kept the raw wood edge, and I thought that was pretty. I've also seen people stain it. So there's all kinds of solutions depending on what you want to do. It really just depends on what works for you, what works for the painting. I've seen, which I think it's really cute. It's kind of a little bit more of a rustic vibe when you have like the black and white checks. That's a fun one. It's a little bit Mackenzie Childs. And that's just, you just have to do, you can freehand it or use tape or whatever, but it's just black and white. I don't know what brand this is. It's just called Liquid Leaf. You can get it at Michael's. If you Google Liquid Leaf, it is the Liquid Leaf. These wood panels are just stick blick, or you can get them at Michael's. You can get them at Jerry's. Ampersand does the flat ones. They also do the cradled ones. These are more expensive as far as painting goes. They're more expensive than canvas. So then, how do you sign your painting? Well, it's funny because I think it depends. I've seen, especially male painters. I see male painters that have very prominent signatures, and the painting is by this gentleman. And I've seen a lot of female painters that kind of try to hide their signature. And so it can go any way that you want. If you think about it, it's all up to you and what statement you want to make. Do you want to use your first name? Do you want to use your last name? It's up to you. Let's see. If painting goes in a frame, is it really necessary to finish the edges? No, especially if you're using one of the if you're using one of these thinner canvases or boards, you don't necessarily need to finish it, because when you have it in the frame, you won't see the edges. If it's like a black floater frame, it is nice to paint the edge black so that it looks like it's a part of the frame. That's a nice thing to do, but it's not necessary, especially if you're going to frame it. I would recommend using a thinner panel because it's easier to fit in frames. Carlotta, I feel you with a name that feels awkward to sign. Some people just do like CB, like Carlotta Brandenburg. You can do Carlotta. I used to sign my name Dylan, and then I realized my first name was a little bit more unique and a little bit more memorable. So I started signing my first name. I sign my prints with a gold pen. This is Pen Touch. I have tried a lot of different gold pens. This is my favorite for signing. It is oil-based and permanent, so just you have to understand that. And I sign it either with my small paintings, like this one. This is a small painting, or with my prints, just because it has a much finer tip. So I like that I can get a much finer shape to it. And I have, I'm left-handed, and I have curly Q letters. I have an S, an H, an L, a B, and a Y in my name. It is like the hardest name to sign with paint. Good Lord. It is really, really difficult. And so that is why there are some, especially right-handed painters that can manage it with a rigger. They use one of those really nice long brushes and have beautiful script. And they do kind of like a, and they're able to do that. Well, my name has way too many ups and downs. And so that's why I settled on just doing it with, uppercase. And I just use a fine brush, a small brush, and it's supposed to be painterly. And because I use the uppercase, it's not meant to be quite as, my work is a little bit more fun. It's not as serious. So your signature should reflect the work as well. Like, are you going for like super realistic, very serious, very formal? Are you going to have a big gold frame? Then your signature should kind of be in that vein. Are you really pop art? Are you, think about how you want to sign it and the impression that you want to make. I love all these lefties. Yeah, it's really, really difficult. And like, I mess up my signature all the time. And so when that happens, I just have to go in like this. The S and the H here are kind of blocky. So I'll just wipe them off and try again. You don't have to get it right on the first time. And I do wait until the painting is dry and until we're ready to kind of go to shows before I put it on. So it's, I like people to know that they got a painting from me, from an artist, from a person, and not have it be like and why else buy the art from the artist, So I like to leave a little bit of my mark. It's kind of fun. But yeah, so wait, here we go. I'm going to leave. Here we go. I'm going to switch this out. There's a couple different ways that we can finish a painting. I'm going to put this up and I'm going to add, there we go, so we can see it. So yeah, there are a couple different ways to finish a painting. You don't have to overthink it. Just think about what you feel like looks good with your vibe, with your style. Because I've literally seen everything. I've seen raw wood edges. I've seen stained edges. I've seen gold. I've seen black, white, coordinating colors, designs, you name it. Just like have it be about who you are as an artist. And the same goes with your signature. I've seen everything fly. I think the only rule for edges in your signature is to make it look on purpose. Have it be neat, have it be clean. Make sure there's not like unintended paint wrapping around the edges and kind of dripping. But do what you think works with your painting. Personally, with a lot of my collectors' homes and just kind of the styles that I'm seeing that they use, I like the white edges because it pops with their trim and it kind of raises it up off the wall a little bit. But that's me, and that's what I'm seeing in my collectors' homes. I love what I saw in New Orleans with like the crazy designs going down the edge. That was really neat. Ashley Longshore, who's this really famous artist in New Orleans, her paintings go for $20,000. She had mostly coordinating edges. There were a couple paintings hanging in her gallery where she had painted 3/4 of the way around the painting and stopped. So I think we'd call that a work in progress. But it's like for everything you see in the art world, you'll see 3 reasons where it's changed or somebody's broken the rules or whatever. Do what feels good. Do what works with you and your work. So yeah. We do have some people who have won boxes over the last couple days, and I wanted to make sure that you knew so that you get in contact with us so that we can send you your goodie box. That is Heather Anders, Rosanna Kogel, and Carolyn Guy. Y'all won some Happy Mail from us, so please email hello@shelbydillonstudio.com and we will get your address and send you a goodie box. And then we have for posting your selfie over the last week, we have selected our 3 winners that have won 1 month free of the Creative Circle, and our current members were also eligible. So we have Jennifer Nauman, and I apologize if I don't pronounce y'all's names correctly, Tamara Howard, and Jerry Renkinen. Y'all are recipients of 1 month free of the Creative Circle. So make sure to email us and we will take care of that on your account. We have had some questions about if you're a Painting of the Week Club member and want to move over to the Creative Circle. No problem. We've got you covered. We'll work on transitioning you over and canceling the Painting of the Week Club. And oh yes, the winners were Jennifer Nauman, Tamara Howard, and Jerry Renkinen. And Jerry, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your last name. But please get in touch with us and we'll give you a month free of the Creative Circle. We are open for a little bit more than 24 hours. We're open until midnight tomorrow. And then I spend most of my time and energy with the Creative Circle. I spend most of my teaching. If y'all have seen this week, I'm more or less an open book when it comes to painting. And really just, I want to empower you all to have the ability to do what you want with art. And so it's such a loving, sharing community, and they're so supportive of one another. We have this incredible group, and we would love for you to be a part of it. We won't open again this year, and I don't know when we'll open again. It's going to be a while because I really just want to spend my time. I'm enjoying going deeper with the Creative Circle and really giving them the ins and outs and the whys so that you can make your own decisions and you can really find your way as an artist. We're not just paint by number. We try to give you the how and the why so that you can create your own numbers and you can do your own paintings. Yeah, I'm glad. Hey, Mel, it's good to see you. You're welcome, Teresa. I'm trying to see if I can. Jean, so the annual members got the rooster. If you're a monthly member and you would like the rooster, get in touch with Rosemary. And we do have discount codes for some of the workshops, and then some of them are just not available for the public. Let's see. Yeah, initials are easier. When in doubt, you can always just use your initials. Like that beautiful script is really hard to do. Well, thank you guys. Yeah, the rooster was a lot of fun. We just finished that a couple days ago. He's behind us. I don't know where he is. All of our workshop paintings keep walking around. Oh yeah, he is. We just finished this. This was a fun one because it was like experimental. It was more of a like we tried different techniques and they were kind of pushing outside of our comfort zone. The three different kinds of paintings that you'll do are, and I know this gets confusing. We have the small ones. This is what we do every Tuesday. And this is in the, you have access to our entire vault when you join the Creative Circle. We have over 50 and we do about 20 new ones a year. So you get access to all of these as long as you're a member. And then every month we do a demo, which it's about a specific topic. So we go deeper. We talk about color theory, we talk about mixing certain colors, we talk about how to do glass, we talk about composition. And I don't just do the painting, like I typically just do the painting with these small ones because these are meant to be done in an hour or less. These are more in depth, so they're more the how and the why, and I lead you through the thought process behind it. And then these guys are the workshops. Kind of like the Mingo, but the Mingo was just a 1-day one. So these are typically 2 and 3 days, so 2-3 hours of teaching, and it's a more complicated subject. It's more detail. We go slower. We map out all the colors as I'm using them, and you go even deeper. Talk about how we go through the stages to get to the final product. So it's a wonderful experience. If you're interested in making taking your art to the next level, we would really love to have you with us. And like I said, it's open for another 24 hours. And then we really do close down until we're ready to take more people in. And we do that so that we can focus on our members and give you guys give our energy. And I can't tell you how many members we now have gotten to know personally, and that's just so cool. Yes, y'all are never behind. It's a journey, and some of us are at different places all the time. Sometimes life gets in the way. Sometimes kids get sick. Sometimes you have to take care of a family member, and this is always here for you. Everything's pre-recorded or the replays are available, so you never miss anything. And you can really pick and choose what you want. Thank you all so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at the Paint Along, and I recommend that you sign up for the Creative Circle. We only have a few more hours left until we close until 2023. So y'all have a great evening, and I will see you later. All right, y'all. Thank you.